There was once a young barista named Sarah who had just the slightest problem. Okay, maybe her problem was anything but slight. You see, Sarah worked at a coffee shop to pay for her studies, and she desperately needed money because her father's health was deteriorating and he urgently needed an expensive surgery that their health insurance did not cover. But no matter how many hours Sarah worked, it seemed like she would never earn enough money to save her father's life. So one day she decided to do something crazy. She wrote down her business idea on a napkin and asked a complete stranger for $200,000. And what happened next totally changed her life forever. So make sure to watch until the end to find out how. Sarah was a hard-working young woman with a heart of gold who dedicated her life to taking care of her sick father. Even though she worked as a barista 7 days a week, she still found time to study so she could get a better job in the future and provide for her family. One evening after her shift, Sarah was sitting at home thinking about how she could possibly earn enough money for her father's surgery. Her mind raced as she considered all of her options, but none of them seemed viable. That's when she had an epiphany. Why not start a business? This way she could finally be in control of her own destiny and hopefully raise enough funds to help her father. But there was one small issue. Sarah had no idea what kind of business to start. Just then, while scrolling through her social media feed, she came across an article about the booming industry of plant-based milk alternatives. The timing couldn't have better. Sarah was passionate about sustainability and animal rights. So she decided to invest all of her savings into buying state-of-the-art equipment that would allow her to create delicious non-dairy milk alternatives for coffee shops. After spending all of her money, Sarah found herself in a bit of a pickle. She didn't have any more savings left to sustain herself while starting her business. So she went back to working at the coffee shop as a barista. However, little did she know that this seemingly unfortunate turn of events would soon pay off in the most unexpected way. You see, ever since Sarah had started working at the coffee shop, she had always dreamed of one day becoming the owner. She loved everything about the environment, from the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans to the warm smiles of satisfied customers. So when she learned that the owner was planning to sell the business, she jumped at the opportunity to buy it. Unfortunately, she didn't have enough money to make the purchase. But instead of giving up on her dream, she struck a deal with the owner. She agreed to work at the coffee shop for the next 3 years without pay in exchange for the business. It was a risky move, but Sarah was determined to make it work. For the next few months, Sarah poured all of her energy into turning the coffee shop into a success. She experimented with new recipes, sourced the highest quality ingredients, and created a cozy atmosphere that made customers feel right at home. Her hard work paid off and the coffee shop quickly became the talk of the town. People from all over came to experience the unique charm of the place and the exceptional quality of its products. However, despite the shop's growing popularity, Sarah was still struggling financially. Even though she had cut costs wherever she could, she simply wasn't earning enough to cover her expenses, let alone save up for her father's surgery. One day, amidst the hustle and bustle of the coffee shop, Sarah found herself sitting down with a cup of coffee, lost in thought. As she stared into the steamy beverage, an idea sparked in her mind. What if she took her plant-based milk alternative business to the next level by offering it directly at the coffee shop? It was a simple concept, but Sarah knew that with the right execution, it could be a game changer. So she decided to take the plunge. She invested all of her savings into purchasing top-of-the-line equipment that would allow her to produce high-quality plant-based milk alternatives on site. Then she created a menu that showcased her innovative recipes using the freshest ingredients. At first, the response from customers was lukewarm. Many were skeptical about trying something new and different. But Sarah was determined to succeed. She worked tirelessly to perfect her craft, and soon word began to spread about the amazing plant-based milk alternatives she was offering. People from all over town came to the coffee shop to try her unique creations and Sarah's business began to flourish. With each passing day, more and more customers became regulars, and Sarah found herself making a steady profit. Finally, things were looking up for Sarah. Not only was her business thriving, but she had also developed a passion for her craft. She loved creating unique plant-based milk alternatives and watching her customers enjoy them. But there was still one thing on her mind: saving enough money to pay for her father's surgery. Even though Sarah was making a decent profit, she knew that it would take years to save enough money for her father's surgery. As Sarah sat down across from the investor, she felt a surge of anxiety. She knew that this was her one shot to secure the funding she needed to save her father. Taking a deep breath, she began to explain her business and the reasons why she needed the loan. As Sarah spoke, she could see the investor leaning forward in his chair, his eyes fixed on her with a look of intense interest. Could this be it? Had she finally found someone who believed in her vision? Time would tell. Sarah continued to explain how her business was already turning a profit and how she planned to use the loan to expand her operations. She spoke with such passion and conviction that the investor was captivated by her story. As Sarah wrapped up her pitch, she could see that the investor was deep in thought. He was clearly considering her request carefully. Would he approve her loan, or would he turn her down and crush her dreams? Finally, the investor looked up and met Sarah's gaze. His expression was serious, but there was a hint of admiration in his eyes. "Sarah," he began, his voice deep and resonant, "you have a compelling business plan, and I can see the passion you have for what you do. However, I need more information before I can make a decision." Sarah's heart sank. She had hoped for a quicker answer, but she knew that the investor was right. She needed to provide more details about her business and financial projections. Over the next few weeks, Sarah worked diligently to gather all the necessary information. She spent countless hours poring over financial statements, market research, and industry reports. She wanted to be as prepared as possible when she met with the investor again. When she finally had everything in order, she scheduled another meeting with the investor and went in confident and ready to make her case. After reviewing all of the new information Sarah had provided, the investor was impressed. He could see that she was a smart, passionate, and dedicated entrepreneur. And most importantly, he believed in her vision for the company. "Sarah," he said, a smile spreading across his face, "I want to offer you the loan you requested. I believe in your business, and I think you have what it takes to be successful." Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. Was this real? After all her hard work and dedication, she had finally secured the funding she needed. Over the next few months, Sarah used the loan to expand her plant-based milk alternative business. She hired more employees, opened a new location, and launched a marketing campaign to promote her products. Her business was growing rapidly, and she was finally able to save enough money to pay for her father's surgery. As Sarah stood in the hospital waiting room, she couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. From a shy barista who had no idea what to say to a seasoned entrepreneur who had just secured a major loan. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had been worth every step of the way. When her father woke up from surgery, she knew that none of it would have been possible without the investor's belief in her. Touched by her story, the investor had actually decided to waive off the interest on the loan entirely. Overjoyed, Sarah hugged him and thanked him for his generosity. In the coming years, Sarah's business continued to thrive. She became a successful entrepreneur and a role model for aspiring business owners. She also made a significant impact on the plant-based milk alternative industry, proving that it was possible to create a successful business around sustainable and ethical practices. And so the story of Sarah, the once shy barista who dared to dream big and ask for help, became a legend in the entrepreneurial world. Her story inspired countless other individuals to pursue their dreams and never give up in the face of adversity. For Sarah proved that with hard work, dedication, and a willingness to take risks, anything was possible.